moments on your world travels, and intrepid people you are. We're on to animals now.
Yes, just a few slides showing some of the animals which have tried to stop our progress. Zebras, elephants and deers, mainly in Kruger National Park, well worth a visit if you get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Then camels in Western Sahara, reindeer in Norway, I'm sure a lot of people have.
Well, I can match you on that one, yes.
Bison in the Yukon.
Yep, snap, got you on that one, but I'm going to get trumped pretty quick.
Then, when we were travelling through Africa, we obviously stayed strictly to campsites and planned our journey from campsite to campsite.
Mm-hmm.
And very nearly didn't stop at this site in Zambia at Victoria Falls, because when we looked and parked, there was a lot of rubbish on the ground, fruit remains, apple cores. And it wasn't until we looked up and spied that there was a monkey on the roof of this time our motorhome that we realised why there was all the rubbish on the floor, and it wasn't the campers, it was the animal population. Moving on from there, on the Dempster Highway in Dempster, Alaska, and in many occasions in Australia, we came across signs warning that the road was also the airstrip. And in fact, on the Dempster Highway, a plane had landed in between us, going up one way and returning obviously down the same road, as there was only the one road. Difficult border crossings. We've had not problems, but sort of incidents of many interesting crossings. We had to explain in Russia and Australia were the two main ones. We actually didn't go into Russia because of all the border facilities, and we hadn't got a visa. But going into Australia was very much a matter of by the book.
Yeah. One of the most interesting border crossings we had was when we went through Syria to Jordan, and a fixer came and latched onto us to help us through all the formalities, obviously for a charge. It was as well that we had him, because we had to have our carnet de passage stamped as we went in and out of each country, and there was only one man who did that at the border crossing, and unfortunately he was still in bed. So our fixer went and knocked him up and dragged him down to the office in his pyjamas to stamp and sign our visa, our carnet de passage.
So we're on to campsites, memorable campsites now.
One of our real favourite trips was going through Syria to Jordan, luckily the year before the hostilities started. And we stumbled across a wonderful little campsite in Little Petra, above the true Petra, and it was a true desert camp.
Mm-hmm.
We and the Land Rover behind, who was Swiss, were the only people there, and it was a most fantastic experience to be on this campsite. In Syria, I've got no views of the actual campsite because basically there weren't campsites, but we did stay one night in the hotel parking, and the view across to Krak de Chevaliers was, as you can see in the picture, utterly amazing. Mm. Unfortunately, if you look that up now on the internet, it's in ruins. Mm. Morocco had its fair share of lovely campsites, from the dunes at Erg Chebbi to Marrakesh, which was pure luxury, although we did discover later on that there'd been a much cheaper, but not nearly so nice campsite in a different part of Marrakesh. From the seaside in Morocco, where we managed to squeeze into a seaside pitch, to a beautiful bay in Corsica, where the views were, as you can see, that view was taken from our motorhome. Shady pitches in Croatia, to under 1,000-year olive tree in Montenegro. And the amusing story there is, as we were driving along the road heading south towards Albania, this little man jumped up from a chair beside the road and frantically waved us down and pointed down towards the coast. And we followed him to discover at the bottom he owned this beautiful, beautiful campsite.
Generally, as much as we can, we wild camp rather than staying on campsites. But in Africa, we use campsites all the time. One of the nicest ones we had was in Namibia. It's Betta campsite. And if you look on the photo, you will see that next to our motorhome, there's a little platform, a little shaded platform,
yes,
where you can pitch your tent underneath and get some shade. And to the side of it is a staircase and a viewing platform. And the idea is that you can sleep under the stars on the platform, out of the desert sand. Because when we woke up next morning, we discovered that there were tracks of snakes, where snakes had slithered around our campsite all night. We were very glad that night to have been in our motorhome.
Well, compared to that, in Tanzania, there were a number of very pleasant campsites, and this one at Kisolanza had a guard on the gate and was actually used by overland tour companies, such as Dragoman, who uses these campsites because they were secure. Unlike in Lake Malawi, how we ever got onto that little pitch, I do not know. It was very much moving fence posts and trying to get onto a pitch down quite a steep slope, but it was worth the effort for the views over the lake.
Well, we're on to the Antipodeans now, aren't we? That's an amazing view, the next one.
Yes, the campsite in Tasmania was actually an ex-servicemen's club, and it was very close to the penal colony. So we actually spent a couple of nights there.
They charge you $10 per night to camp park in their car park. But having paid the $10, they then gave you a $10 voucher which you could then spend in the bar. So basically, the camping was free.
Yeah.
Full facilities as well. We obviously couldn't stay overnight at where we're shown a park by Uluru, because you had to be out of the park by sunset and couldn't go in until almost sunrise. But we did manage to see sunrise by getting up and being first in the queue to go to Uluru. And Australia was incredibly motorhome friendly. Every little town or village had parking designated areas, some of them with facilities, some with electricity, some with showers. And that caption, Australia welcomes motorhomes, is incredibly true. They were wonderful to find. Coming back more to accessible ones, Colditz Castle, that picture was taken when we ferried, as you can see, the motorhome looks incredibly new. We've been back to Colditz since, and there is no way that you would be allowed to park a motorhome there anymore in the middle of the marketplace. And in fact, to visit the castle, we had to go and find the custodian who gave us the key to let ourselves in to explore. Unlike nowadays, you have to go in a guided tour. Many people will have found beautiful Stellplatzes in Germany. That's one on our favourite autumn on the Mosel Valley in autumn.
And Northern Ireland has a few eyes. Not many, but there are a few eyes, and you can.
Yeah.
Well, I had no problem in Ireland. I did the Wild Atlantic Way as well, and basically I asked a guard, a policeman, you can park more or less where you like.